All right. What is up, traders? What's up, tycoons? Super excited for today's video. I wanted to go over a lot of people sometimes have this question, why does the market move sometimes after the lunch hour? A lot of people think it's like, oh, hey, well, all of the institutions, all the hedge funds, all the big money is back from their lunch break. That could be a reason. But something else that I've noticed and that really gives some good scalping and day trading opportunities is the bond auctions. Okay. So if you actually take a look, you can come here and you can look at the tentative auction schedule of U.S. Treasury securities. This is completely free for everyone to go ahead and look at. You can look it up yourself. We do have this posted in the Discord as well. But I was speaking with one of the members in the Discord today, and they were asking, how do I set up these auction trades, right? And each day is going to be a little bit different. But if you take a look, it'll give you the actual, thing that's being optioned, right? The actual type of treasury. As you can see, upcoming on Thursday, we have the 3-year note, the 10-year note, and the 30-year bond. So this could move the market, maybe not in a very dramatic way, okay, but that could move the market around the 1 p.m. time frame. And this is Eastern time, okay? So I'm on the East Coast, and we're speaking of Eastern time. But typically from 1 to 2 p.m., you can normally find a type of trade setup. And, it's a really good opportunity, right, for some quick day trades. And, typically, that's something that we like to do in the Discord a lot. And we also are pretty aware of just the fact that, hey, things might be chopping around, from 11 to 1, really just setting up for the next move. And a lot of times you can see a nice little move develop after 1 p.m. and starting around 1 p.m. So smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. I'm going to go ahead and get into it. We're going to take a look at TLT first, all right, and go into the TLT chart for today. And what you can see is we had a little bit of an inverse head and shoulders forming. Okay, now this is the 5-minute chart. And I definitely recommend, if you're going to be trying to day trade, these 1 p.m. auctions and try to use that as a little bit of a catalyst, that you need to move down to a little bit of some smaller time frames. I also do look at the 1-hour chart. We'll go over that in the next one, but I really like the 5-minute chart a lot personally. So what we can see here on TLT is that we're getting some development as the day is going, right? These red lines right here, these are the person's pivot indicator. I really like this indicator a lot, especially for giving me some good day trading levels. So if you aren't familiar with those and what the person's pivot level is, I have a whole tutorial on that. All you have to do is type in Exactly Trades person's pivots, and it's really, really useful for upping your scalping game, right? In your day trading game. It really helps out a lot being a level to level trader. Now, with that being said, we can see that, we ended up forming this inverse head and shoulders right here. And look at the time, guys. Okay, this is 12:30 right here, where this right shoulder is developing. And then what do? We come up, all right, we get above our red daily person pivot, okay, a valid resistance. We flip that to support, move up, and then we hit our weekly person pivot here in green. Now, this shaded area right here is 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. All right, and so this is what I mean by you usually can find some nice setups in this time frame and in this range, right? So we're seeing, throughout the whole day, we have an inverse head and shoulders forming. Now 1 p.m. is here. We're going to see if that can give us the boost and really be the catalyst to potentially play out this pattern. And sure enough, we come up to our weekly person pivot in green. We pull back, all right, but we end up breaking our neckline right here. So we respect the neckline. We respect the weekly person pivot level, all right. But after breaking through our neckline, we end up getting a nice move, and that inverse head and shoulder plays out. And you're able to take some profits on the trade, on that day trade. And, these are really lucrative day trades if you're trading options, right? Options are very volatile, super, super risky. But if you can manage your risk and set up some really good plays, right, with like an entry right around here along that neckline, okay, and maybe a stop loss at your daily person pivot here in red or below the person pivot, and you're going to be targeting the inverse head and shoulders to play out. That's a good risk to reward ratio. All right. Now we go to the next slide here, and this is going to be kind of like the setup that I personally like to use. Is I like to use Active Trader, and I normally don't trade TLT day trading for this type of indicator. What I'll do is I'll actually go and trade the SPY or the SPX. So, this may look a little complicated to, the average trader. So I've actually broken down these individually, but I like to look at the ES futures on the 5-minute chart. I like to look at the SPY, the S&P 500 index on the 1-hour chart. with my person pivots levels here. And then I'll have some EMAs and VWAP on the ES chart. And I also pay attention to the VIX, the volatility index. And then you have active trader up here. And you can see, the actual value of the options that you would be trading. If we move on to the next slide, right, what we're going to look here is this is the 5-minute chart just blown up. Okay. And so remember, we're looking for possible plays and possible setups around the 1 p.m. candle time frame, right? So if you take a look right here, okay, this is 1 p.m. right here, this green candle right here next to VWAP, and you can see the next candle actually gets a rejection. So initially, the bond auction happens and we get a rejection off VWAP and we pull back. But if you watch my videos and you're familiar with them, I like to go over the major Fibonacci retracement levels a lot, right? And so what you can see is we get a healthy retracement and we bounce off of our 61.8% retracement level. Whenever I'm day trading or scalping or something like that, I'm pretty comfortable taking a position off of 618 retracement level, as the risk to reward ratio generally is in your favor. And if you flip that from support to resistance, you can cut your losses pretty quickly. All right, and if we end up holding support, you should hit your Fibonacci extension levels, right? So these are the retracement levels, and these are the extension levels up above, and these are going to be your profit targets, right? Now, I also mentioned in a lot of my videos that you want to look for multiple strategies aligning together. Just trading solely off one thing alone isn't always really going to give you the edge that you need, as no one strategy is going to be 100% guaranteed. So what we actually have here is a little bit of a bullish divergence bounce at the same point where we get the 618 retracement bounce. If you take a look, right over here, we're making lows and slightly lower lows, even equal lows you could call them, but we're making slightly lower lows from about 11.15 to about 12.15 on the S&P 500 futures. But our relative strength index went from oversold to above oversold, right? And we're actually making a low, a higher low, and a higher low. And what we do is we come back down and we retest that initial bullish divergence trend line that pushed us up to VWAP. We come back, we retrace off the 61.8 level. We get a nice bounce off of that initial bullish divergence, and we push up higher and we hit the 786 extension on our Fibonacci's, right? So this is our profit target area. That's the S&P 500 futures. Now, I'm also looking at the SPY 1-hour chart around the same time frame to see if we're coming around any of our major levels, right? Any of those major person pivot levels. And you can see that initially this 1-hour candle, while it did open here, it dipped down to the weekly person pivot level. And so that's an area of support for me where I'm going to be looking at, right? And so I see, hey, we're approaching the person pivot level down here. We're also approaching the 618 retracement level down here. This could be a possible entry, right? This is an area where I know, and I have two different strategies, that I'm using at the same time to go ahead and make an idea and make a judgment on whether or not this is a potential bounce zone. Okay. Now, as you can see, we definitely got the bounce there and we pushed up. All right. We got the bounce there and we pushed up. And that's, a quick 15-20 minutes, guys, that trade is. Remember, each one of these candlesticks is 5 minutes. So this is 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes. We hit the profit target in 15 to 20 minutes. Okay. And that's a nice little scalp, nice little day trade. Over here, this is the value of the options themselves that I like to trade, right? I told you guys, I typically will trade like the SPY or the SPX. So if you take a look here, the value of those contracts was about 2.5, right? And so each contract is worth 100 shares. So that's actually going to be about $250 per contract. So if you would have bought 10 of these contracts right around that 618 retracement level bounce, you would have paid around $250 per contract. And you can see they shot up over $300 per contract. So, if you're trading 10 contracts on that move, you just made a nice $500 on a quick 15-20 minutes based off of a 618 retracement, based off of bullish divergence trendline bounce, and also based off of bounce of the SPY weekly person pivot level. So yeah, we took a look at TLT in the beginning, then we went ahead and took a look at the S&P, and you can use that 1 p.m. time frame whenever there's auction dates to really just give yourself kind of like a time zone, right? Like a lot of times you would either want to trade in the very beginning of the morning, or you want to wait until the end of the day, as really most of the intraday stuff between 11 to 3 tends to be a lot of chop. But on days that you have auctions, you can also keep in mind that, hey, well, maybe I missed my trade potentials in, the first hour of the day, right, or the first hour or two of the morning. Let me see if there's any setups. Let me check back in with the market right before the 1 p.m. auction. And if there's some setups there, then potentially I could take a trade. As you know, you just typically tend to see some nice little setups around the 1 p.m. time frame on those auction dates. All right, so that's going to be it for today's video. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and if you did, you're probably going to enjoy one of these next two videos as well, so make sure to click on one of those.